Our second presenter of the day is going to be Brendon Connnett.
What does the number 24 mean to you? For some of you, it may represent the amount of, or your favorite TV show, or your favorite player on your favorite sports team. But for me, it represents the amount of hours in a day. Over this past summer, I've heard it said that we all live in a world that there are 24 hours in a day, and how we use these 24 hours, that is what makes us unique. And I took this to heart whenever spending my time at Northwest Gospel Church in the creative team. But we'll get into that later. First, let me properly introduce myself. I've had a passion for the creative arts since I was young, and because of this internship, I sort of jumped headfirst into this passion. And my biggest goal with finding an internship is not only improving my craft, but also glorifying God in the process. And a big part of my mission statement actually includes, I'm a Christian that happens to be a creative, not a creative that happens to be a Christian. So in this sense, and in all senses, God comes first. That leads us to where I found Northwest Gospel Church. Been going to Northwest Gospel Church for 20 years. I'm 20 years old. Been going there all 20 years. Through all the name changes from Glad Tidings Church to Life Point Church, now Northwest Gospel Church. And the branding is amazing that we have now, so I really hope we stick with this name for a while. But if we don't, I know God will help us through that transition as well. And I had the blessing of both double dipping in a way for my Bonner summer placement, for the Bonner Scholarship, as well as my internship placement, my internship placement for the comm department. I was able to log hours simultaneously for both, so I was definitely blessed in that regard. First of all, my first mentor his name's Cody Weisenbaker. I worked with him mainly for film stuff and photo stuff. He's a media associate at Northwest Gospel Church, and he went to Full Sail University in Florida to get his degree in audio engineering. And he's an audio production guru and an amazing filmmaker. He has all the filmmaking techniques under his belt, and he's crazy at electric guitar. Secondly, my design intern is Max Janish. He's labeled as a creative associate at Northwest Gospel Church. And he went to Multnomah University in Oregon to study biblical and theological studies with a music ministry major as well, focusing on composition. He's an amazing leader. He's probably one of the best mentors I've had to this day, and he leads by example. And not only does he lead by example, he's an amazing musician, and his singing style matches our church very well, which you'll see soon. In regards to the location in which I worked, this room is called the Green Room, and in the photo on the left, you see that's where we host our live stream every Sunday, or simulate our live stream every Sunday, and on the right, you see the desks we work at throughout the week, and as you can see, there's Cody right there. The second location that we work in is the studio. This is where we would film stuff, take photos, and do audio packages, or whatever you'd like to call that. But as you can see on the photo on the right, a little bit on the left, we weren't happy with the height of the ceiling, so we made our own height in that sense. Moving on to internship duties, from filmmaking to photography to design. Starting with filmmaking, due to COVID restrictions, as we all had mentioned before, meeting in person wasn't really feasible for us. And so we value our worship, we value our music, and our musical worship specifically. And so we needed an outlet for that. And so, as you can see on the left, there's a little behind the scenes of the production, and then on the right, here is a little clip of it. As you can see, Max at the end there shredding on the guitar as he always does. Secondly, we have our lobby worship. We wanted to kind of change things up a little bit because the auditorium worship was fun and all, but we didn't want to continue the auditorium worship. We wanted to move out, do something new, do something fancier. So we went with more of a choir-based performance, if you will, or worship rather. And on the right, you can see we're trying to tell people keep social distancing, but again, on the left, you can also see that was not very feasible. But thankfully, to my knowledge, we didn't get much backlash on not being exactly 6 feet apart and all wearing masks and being all grouped up. But here is a little clip of that.
Now exalted Jesus reigns. Hail the King, praise his name.
Once again, Max, amazing musician, amazing singer, and he has definitely been a blessing to our church. And behind the camera on both these productions are both Cody and I. And I learned so much from Cody through this, and I've learned so much from Max through music stuff as well, but that was not part of this internship. Moving on to photography, summer camp. Given COVID restrictions, summer camp was extremely hard to take photos of because I wasn't able to capture what I wanted because I was trying to focus on getting photos of people with masks on or whatever. But in activities like these, we weren't required to wear a mask, and so it was quote unquote okay. But as you can see on the left, bottom left and bottom right, that is a dead octopus that we're throwing around. That is a staple of Northwest Gospel Church's summer camps. We play ultimate frisbee with the dead octopus. And in the middle, bottom middle there, we have our youth pastor, our current youth pastor, giving 110% to push the ball towards a bunch of 6th graders. So that is basically the premise of our summer camps. But it was a blessing to be able to take a photo of this, and it was really fun to work with the people through this as well. Secondly, sermon photos. Due to, again, restrictions with coronavirus and all the issues that brings, I was not able to get as many photos as I wanted of sermon photos, but over the past years, I've been asked to take sermon photos even outside of this internship. And these are a few that I've had accumulated over time. So that's essentially what we would take photos of, and we'd put the little main idea in like the top right or top left and post that on social media in case somebody missed the service and wanted the main idea. Moving on to what I did with Max Janish. Design. Design has never been my strongest side, but through this internship, I've definitely grown in my design capabilities. I was asked to create 30 icons for use on social media, on different brochures, flyers, other designs, and only 30, but if you guys are counting right now, there's 35 there. He was happy I went above and beyond in that sense, and I just learned so much from this assignment, all the techniques that I learned, and the different programs. I used Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop to create these, and it was one of the best assignments I've been given because I learned the most out of it. Secondly, we have an asset library. If any of you are designers or filmmakers or photographers, asset libraries are key. Please use asset libraries. They're not known enough, and the Creative Cloud, the Adobe Creative Cloud, has an amazing asset library program. So with this, I had to build out Northwest Gospel Church's asset library. So anyone on the team can now have the logo, as you can see in the image on the right, the color scheme, the fonts we use, and the icons that I created. And further, there's a lot of stuff under that, but I couldn't fit that in one slide. And so and as you can see on the left, those are the groups of stuff that would be under it. But again, I cannot fit that on one slide. But it is an amazing asset, and I would highly encourage anyone who uses the Adobe programs to utilize the asset library. A couple takeaways or 3 specifically takeaways that I've got from this internship are the following. The first, confidence. Walking into a project or a presentation with a lack of confidence or even tedious at times can make you kind of come across as unprofessional or unsure about yourself. And so in this sense, confidence is key, and I learned that through the encouragement of my mentors. And secondly, we have patience. And in a world of instant gratification, we don't have a lot of patience in what we do, and we want things right away. We have fast food, we have social media, we want to know everything right away. And having patience, especially in the media ministry, creative field, is very important because there are a lot of people that may not know how to explain what they want well enough. Having patience and working with them, and that leads on to the third point, communication. This is the Department of Communication, and communication kind of summarizes the whole internship and what I've learned. I've learned to be able to talk to people and to communicate with people in a way that I'm able to understand what they're wanting and they're able to understand what I'm going to give them. And it definitely encourages a sense of productivity throughout your team or your group that you're working with. So what does that mean for my future? I hope in the future I get to work for a church. Maybe not Northwest Gospel Church, maybe not a church in the area that I live, but a church, period. But in the meantime, I would like to work in places where I'm able to be a light to my coworkers and be able to share the gospel through that. And lastly, I would like to thank Northwest Gospel Church for letting me be an intern. I'd like to thank Cody and Max for mentoring me through my passion. And finally, I would like to thank all of you for listening. Thank you.
Okay, questions on the floor?
I had probably, for lack of a better term, a more deep question, but the whole octopus thing,
Oh, yeah,
really
that's-
piqued my interest. Can you give us some background
That's a
on
touchy
that?
subject. Yeah, I don't even know where it started. Like ever since I've been going to the camp, the summer camps since 6th grade, we've been playing with the dead octopus. And there's been stories about how the octopus was left in someone's car in 105-degree weather or something like that, and like they almost had to like trash the car because it was so bad. And so there's a lot of stories behind it. I'm not sure the origin story of it, but that is all I can give you.
But there's no symbolism, it's just something.
It's an octopus that replaces a frisbee.
Interesting.
That's about it. Yeah.
My question, I mean, it looks like you've had a remarkable diversity of experience, and I know you love photography. So you mentioned working at a church. What does the future hold in terms of specific content production? If somebody said to you, what do you want to do in that first job, what kind of content are you producing?
I would say content to glorify God. That I can't really narrow it down to one specific thing, but as you saw from Max Janish, he does a lot of the social media, one of my mentors, sorry. He does a lot of social media as well as the design side, while Cody does kind of like the audio visual stuff for a church, and both of which I have a passion for.
Good.
At a point, instead of being okay at 3, maybe I need to be a master at 1. At that point is just like, I'm still working that part out, but right now, just being able to use my creativity to glorify God in the process.
Well said, and I would also strongly encourage you to keep that interest in that diverse range within the field, because all of that converges together for us. So that'll help you, especially getting started. Thank you. We have time for one more. Any other questions?
What was it like, because you said you've attended the church before, so what was it like going from just being kind of a member of the congregation to kind of working there?
Yeah, so I've always started as a member, like in the, I guess, the kids service or the Sunday school. But even as I went into 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I ended up working in the kids department again, working like the audio or whatever, or the slides for the lesson. So in a way, I've always been serving for the church, but actually working as like a titled intern. I was never like on the website as like a creative intern or whatever, but having like more of like an official title was definitely interesting because it came with a lot of different expectations from me, and ones that were a lot more strict, and like the expectation of the product that I was giving the church was also a lot higher because I wasn't just a volunteer at that point. I was an intern that was being invested into, and a lot of coffee was bought and a lot of meals were bought for me. And so yeah, I've always been serving to some extent in a volunteer position, but this is my first intern position, and I wouldn't exchange it for the world. It was amazing. As Professor Krause pointed out, there's a lot of diversity in that, but it was amazing.
Okay, thank you very much.